Good morning, everybody. Reverend Dokai Georgesen is going to give us a talk this morning. He started practicing in Zen with Dainin Katagiri Roshi in 1974 and was ordained in 1984. He received transmission from Katagiri Roshi in 1989. He is the guiding teacher at Hokyoji and has resided here since 2003. Take it away, Reverend Dokai. You need to unmute.
Yeah. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for coming to Kyoji Sunday Dharma Talk. Today I'm going to be talking from a text written by Katagiri Roshi. It's called the Light That Shines Through Infinity. So I was thinking about that title just a little bit ago, and I was thinking, thankfully, I think that it gets written after you're dead. If you like that, if you're alive, I don't know how you could write a book about the light that shines through eternity, like for every chapter. But after he was deceased, his editor called that the title of the book. So what I'm talking from it's kind of a chapter. Two of them actually, called The Tranquil Sage Walks Alone. And the second one following it is called All Embracing Love. So we'll take a look at these two chapters. Shakyamuni Buddha said, this is Katagiri Roshi speaking in the Dharma talk. The tranquil sage is a person who's steadfast, walks alone, unmoved by blame and by praise. And in parentheses, it says, like the lion who is not scared by noises, the breeze that is not to be caught in a net, like the lotus that blooms unsullied above the muddy water. The leader is that person not led. So Katagiri begins his commentary on that verse. And he says, unmoved by blame and by praise means you are not tossed away by what you see or hear objectively. Blame and praise are almost the same because whichever one we get, we are tossed away by it. In particular, we are tossed away by blame. If someone criticizes you, it's pretty easy to become confused. Well, I think that's pretty well documented in psychology these days. We do hang on to negative things that we hear about ourselves more than positive things. We had a little exchange in the kitchen just the other day. We have a retreat going on, and um, we're cooking for that retreat. We're doing that retreat, and one of the people who was cooking, it wasn't me, got really praised by their meal. So we started to talk about that. And the person said, well, at the Zen center that I used to practice that. They would just write a note, to get to not come up and say verbally to the person, "Oh, that was really a great meal," or, or maybe something else. But anyway, to kind of cut down on that thing that we took to writing notes, but still the notes would say, "That was a really great meal," something like that. So then I responded by, at least as a teacher here at Hokyoji, I have the practice of not saying to someone that was a really good meal, or it wasn't a good meal. Uh, because sometimes I would think, well, if I come into the kitchen and say, "Oh, that was really a great meal," and then the next 5 meals I don't come in and say anything, are they going to think that it was a really bad meal? So I just like put like just stop it, right? To not let the tenzo get involved. However, if I'm the tenzo and someone says, "Oh, that was really a great rice dish you cooked," then I'll say, "Yeah, great. Oh, thanks a lot." Something like that. If they tell me something's really wrong with my meal, I'll, I will hang on to that and contemplate it for a long time. More than a meal, it's like something with the practice itself here at Hokyoji. Getting blamed or something's not right with it. That can hang with you a lot longer than if something's going really well. So most people are always busy getting excited, blaming others, fighting, and struggling so much. That's pretty noisy. Uh, and he says, whatever happens to a lion, whichever kind of animal appears, the lion is always calm. When you receive blame and praise with a calm mind, you are like a lion who is not scared of noises. So, well, I don't know if that metaphor is simile is exactly correct. I don't know if lions remain calm under all circumstances, but in any event, it's someone who doesn't have a predator out there. Every moment they go outside. So, to be like a lion, you need a calm mind. So sit in zazen, calm your 6 senses, and touch your original self-consciousness. Calm down again and touch the whole universe. That state of consciousness is called the tranquil stage. Everyone can become, even for a moment, a tranquil sage. They are steadfast, stable, and imperturbable, living in the human world with a dignified spirit. So this little line where he says, everyone can become, even for a moment, a tranquil sage. It reminds me of a passage that he wrote in Returning to Silence, one of my um, favorite sections there. He says, uh, just go back to Zazen and you can just practice sitting Zazen, and you can realize that this kind of activity that we do leads to awakening. You can realize that. Any of us can't. And he said, if only dimly so. So I appreciate that because sometimes it's pretty dim and only for a short time. And but however, that's what leads us on, those kind of experiences, just by awakening for a moment at a time. one moment at a time. Buddha says a leader, the person is not led. Being a leader means you're a master of yourself, whatever situation you may be. This is very important. Always be a leader. Be a leader for you and for all beings. Be a leader, you have to walk alone right in the middle of each moment. Each moment is enormous energy connected with the whole universe. You can never control it. You must be there exactly. That's all you can do. Now, the Buddha wrote what I would consider a very, well, he gave a Dharma talk, at least purportedly so. And my mind started, I say, this is what I heard. And he gave a discourse on called Jungle Thickets. And basically, it was when to leave in a jungle thicket, which means in the forest alone, and when to leave. Um, so it's very interesting. I find it to be a very interesting sutta or discourse because I don't think he's saying in any way, shape, or form that the best way for a person is to go into the forest and just sit there, forever. But he goes through a whole array of situations. He says the same thing about each. So I'd just like to bring that up kind of briefly in this sutra, what he says. So he says, if you go to a jungle thicket and meaning out in the wilderness, away from people, and you start doing your practice and while you're living there, unestablished mindfulness does not become established. Unconcentrated mind does not become concentrated. Undestroyed taints do not come to destruction. And the attainment of supreme security from bondage does not occur. And also the requisites of life, there's four things: clothing, food, a place to rest, and medicinal requirements are not there. You're not getting that. The Buddha says you need to leave that jungle thicket right now. Just if it's day, you leave during the day. If it's night, you leave during the night. So it's just get out of that situation. It's not good for you. Well, then he goes through, then there's a middle scenario where, I'm not getting, peace of mind. I'm not getting mindfulness and all that stuff. But I'm getting everything I need to live. I'm getting, food, clothing, a nice place to sleep, and whatever. Said, well, then you consider that I really didn't come here to live in this wilderness just to get a nice robes and nice food and all that stuff. Then you should think about leaving that place pretty soon. That's what he says. He doesn't say leave immediately, but he says, think about this isn't really why you came there. And you're not accomplishing what you're wanting to do. And then the last scenario is everything is provided. Unestablished mindfulness is becoming established. Unconcentration is becoming concentrated, etc. And I'm getting all the requisites of life. Buddha says, just stay there. Just stay there and continue that practice. Well, then he goes through four other scenarios. One is, okay, say you leave that jungle thicket and you go to a small village. And then he goes through exactly the same scenario again, you know, with not getting, what you've come there to do. And in every case, he says the same thing, just leave immediately if that's not happening. If some of it's happening, consider whether to stay there. And then if everything's happening, just stay there. Continue to practice it. And then he goes on to say that's a village, then he goes a town, then a city, and then a country. And finally, he goes to a person. He goes to person. And this is where there's I find this very interesting too. He says, say you go to a person, no mindfulness is getting established, no concentration, and you're not getting enough to eat. And you're kind of dependent on that person. And he says, leave that place immediately. If it's day, leave during the day. If it's night, leave during the night, and no need to say goodbye. And what I'm thinking is that would be an abusive relationship. Basically, that's what he's talking about, abusive relationship. Just get out of it, as fast as you can. And then he goes to the other extreme where you're dependent on a certain person. Mindfulness is being established. I'm getting all I need. Then he says, you should stay with that person for the rest of your life, even if you're told to go away. So I like this. That comes up sometimes in the other sutras where Buddha says, it's time for you to go away, something like that. And the person won't go away. But anyway, anyway, so that's why I feel the Buddha did not advocate for one particular way of practicing for all of us. Some circumstances will work well for some of us, and others work better for others. So it's just what works, what works for your practice. Find that place, what's really working. And then keep evaluating. Is this working the way I want it to work or not? And make some changes if it's not. So that's how I feel about it. If someone says to me, is it better to go out and live by yourself in the jungle or in the city with all the people out? I say, well, it kind of depends on you. So, what's how you relate to other people and conditions. So he says each moment is enormous energy connected with the whole universe. You can never control it. You must be there exactly. Well, I think controlling it has to do with blaming, fighting, and struggling with others, trying to control our circumstances. Had a long talk with my buddy, best buddy, the other day, and we're the same age within less than a month, and we're we're finding challenges with dealing with this body that's decomposing. And of course, it's decomposing for all of you too, but at my age, it starts to become a little more apparent that it really, really is happening. It's really going to happen. And it's not actually going to slow down anymore. It's going to kind of like accelerate. The decomposition is going to accelerate. And we're talking about how to deal with that. And he might have more challenges with that than I have, probably than I will have. I don't know. Can't say about that. When I get sick, I'm a pretty gloomy character to be around. So I'm not good with sickness. So even a cold, it's like kind of imagine. I'm kind of concerned about when something really, really serious hits my way, how I'm going to deal with it. Sometimes it's very difficult to be a leader, particularly in the midst of difficulties. But don't change your life so much according to the difficulties you encounter. Be like the lotus flower that blooms unsullied by muddy water. Just walk step by step, moment after moment, and manifest yourself in the simplest way. This simple way of life is based on foundation of wisdom. It's not dogmatic. It's just very strong. But to live in this way, first you must be tranquil. Otherwise, you cannot see the panoramic picture of how the life of all beings is functioning. There's not much excitement in just walking. So sometimes you will try to pour knowledge into your head by catching air with a fishing net or scooping water with a bamboo basket. So interesting metaphors. I'm going to catch some air with a fishing net. I don't think that's going to work. Or, you know, gather up some water in a strainer. Okay. That's really, but those are interesting metaphors for trying to pour knowledge into your head. That means, and he's talking about that under kind of difficult circumstances, or through this just walking, which doesn't have any excitement to it. So we got to add some excitement to it. But it's like, trying to catch air in a fishing net. It's like, okay, I know this is really boring to live out here at Hokyoji when nobody's here. But I'm doing it for Hokyoji. Okay. Something like that. Well, that's kind of like bullshit. So anyway, so excuse my language, but it's just empty stuff, you're throwing into your head saying, this is, you know, I'm doing this for something. Well, you're not. I mean, you're just there. You're just there in the middle of it, trying to just be present. Before we got our new machinery for mowing, I would mow on this um, kind of a riding mower, like you're all familiar with. It's got a steering wheel and something like that. And it went really slow and it didn't have a really wide mower. It took me, sometimes it took me 6 or 7 hours to mow the lawn. And, the first couple of times that was okay. But after a while, I had to find something to do while I'm mowing. So I would just think about all the projects that could be done at Hokyoji while I was mowing. It's a good time because I'm going all over the place. And so I kind of fill my head up with it. And of course, well, here's the worst part. I'd mow, no one would come for a week. I'd mow again, no one would come. So no one saw my beautiful work. It's like, geez, I mean, no one. I mean, on a country road in the farm, you're driving down the road. It's amazing how people keep care of their lands out here, way out in the country. They're just they're just really, most people are really um, finicky about that, just keeping a really well dressed lawn. Um, but but you can see it, it's right by the highway and they see it. Here, they don't want him to see my work, for so anyway. Um okay, but air is never caught by a net and your head is always leaking. So just return to the basic pace of walking alone. You are you, taking care of each moment from day to day, from beginning to end. That self is completely open to everything. Okay, now I'll say talk for a few minutes on the next thing called all embracing love. Now, this sort of, I think, complements this section about walking alone, how it's connecting to all embracing love. Um, so again, this is Katagiri writing, and he says, or speaking, and he says, Buddha said, practicing benevolence, equanimity, compassion, and sympathy, seeking release, unobstructed by anything in the world, roam like a unicorn alone. Then Katagiri's comment is the unicorn has just one horn. So it's a or in parentheses, this says rhinoceros. Okay. I guess a rhinoceros just has one horn. Um, it's a symbol of aloneness. You walk alone right in the middle of the human world. But walking alone doesn't mean you stay by yourself and ignore the human world. Your presence must be benevolent to everyone and everything in many ways. Practicing benevolence and equanimity, expressing sympathy and compassion. You are magnificent, calm, and steadfast. It says, what is the difference between sympathy and compassion? Compassion has a little different meaning than sympathy. Sympathy is something you express under certain circumstances. Compassion is something you express under all circumstances. Now, I'm not too fond of the word sympathy, actually. It came up earlier, it came up last week in a ceremony, and we changed the word sympathy to empathy. Empathy. I think it has a little more. I think that's uh, well. I don't know exact. I don't know any of the languages in their original aspect, but for me, that seems like it strikes me better than sympathy. In the Metta Sutta, the Buddha speaks of compassion as an all-embracing love for the whole universe in all its heights, depth, and breadth, an unstinted love unmarred by hate within, not rousing enmity. That all-embracing love is your original heart. You have a precious heart spreading to every inch of the world. This is the human heart. Everyone has this heart. It is the original nature of human beings. Don't worry where you are. Buddha's world is right under your foot. It exists every time you walk. Whether you go, you are completely enveloped by Buddha's world, wherever you go. If you return to the very first stage of expression of your life, you touch that all-embracing love. Immediately, love penetrates you. That is real love. Real love is very deep, profound, and sublime. We don't know what it is intellectually, but we can experience it because we are already there. This is called Dharma, so believe in Dharma. Live with unstinted love, unmarred by hate and enmity, and deal with everything as Buddha. So when he says this is called Dharma, it's also called Sangha. And there's a line we take refuge in every morning. We say, I take refuge in Sangha together with all beings, creating peace and harmony within the community. No problem, no problem. But here's the kicker, completely without hindrance. Now that's where the tough part comes in, because sometimes we think, this is a Buddhist Sangha. Why would we be hindering anybody along? Why would we create any problems for anybody else? But my opinion, I could say, unfortunately or fortunately, we are still human beings. And when human beings get together, it doesn't matter what they're interested in. Sooner or later, there's going to be some issues that come up that were conflict. So that's what that's talking about. That engaging in these conflicts within our Sangha, um, it's not a hindrance, although we you know, it's very easy to think someone's hindering you, you know, in in your practice, especially if you live in a community sometimes where you're pretty tight with each other. Um, things can come up, but I think you've all practiced in sanghas, so you know that it can come up in a city sangha as well. I'll close. Seeking release means we seek emancipation from constantly thinking that everything is separate from us. We want to be peaceful, so we are always seeking release from dissatisfaction with our dualistic way of life. But originally, your life is already perfectly peaceful. Your presence is already unobstructed by anything in the world because you are deeply interconnected with everything in the universe. That is why you can be open to everything and share your life with all beings, no exceptions. So that's the end of my talk for today. And I would invite discussions, comments. I always say rebuttal. So you can say, yeah, but Dokai, look what's going on in this world. It's not. That would be a rebuttal. But you're perfectly welcome to rebut. So yes, Kyoku.
Well, I'm thinking, not very accurately probably, of the stories, for instance, where the Buddha is speaking in a very reprimanding way. So when he talks sometimes about Devadatta, who was his cousin,
Hmm.
and there are times in some of the stories that I've read, or some of the, the actual written down stuff, where there's definitely times where you would be justified in thinking that they might be arguing.
Hmm.
And so I periodically kind of get reflective for a while on how, when there is disagreement, and apparently unharmonious words, kind of how do we tell? How do we tell that? There are sometimes debates by good people with good hearts and good practice about, for instance, the situation in Israel and Gaza. And when I look at it, I think this has been going on for way longer than I can manage or know. And in both cases, there are issues where things are being done that cannot help but be harmful to harmony. And yet we take sides. So I struggle a bit. It's like you like you need to come forward and speak for what isn't working right. You know, we've seen Martin Luther King and Thich Nhat Hanh all do that in ways that it's just hard to know. Is this what did what did you say? Unstinting, embracing, is this harmonious? It's hard to criticize somebody in a harmonious way.
Yeah, well, no doubt when we read the old writings of Buddha, he was not shy about speaking up against what he believed was not appropriate behavior, in the community. In fact, it's quite um, remarkable to note how straightforward he was and how he did not hold back his language. I mean, when Devadatta said, "You should give the order over to me," Buddha replied, "I would not even give the order over to Shariputra, let alone you, Devadatta, you scuttlebutt." I mean, that might not have been the word it used, but it was a very uncomplimentary word. So, yeah, and then, on another occasion, someone was saying, "I can attain enlightenment and still not need to pay attention to the precepts. So I'm kind of beyond all of that. Um, the precepts are for minor league people. I'm in the major leagues, so I don't need to follow them." Um, and Buddha was quite distressed by hearing that. And he called the person, said, you need to go to that person, tell them, I need to talk to them right now. And believe me, you would not like to get a message from the Buddha, I don't think so. Anyway, the person went there and he said, "Oh, you." I can't remember what he called him. I don't think I should repeat it. But anyway, it wasn't good. And and you will be known as the person who defied me or something like that. You know, for that's how you will be known, you know. Uh, and and so the person becomes droops his head and all that. But anyway, he was very straightforward. But you're right. Yeah, how do we know? I mean, um, these I, I I still think empathy is the best way to go. If you mention Israel and Gaza, um, Russia and Ukraine, I mean, we can always say, "Oh, this one's right and this one's wrong," but we might try to just see if we can understand it from both sides, I think. Um, you may have to do a lot of research for that because sometimes the press or whatever you're reading might slant it one way or the other. But still, to resolve any of this conflict, we still need to uh, remain tranquil. And what I would guess is that these harsh words that Buddha was saying were said with tranquility. It wasn't charged with anger. Just said, "Oh, you misunderstood man. That's what he called this guy. You misunderstood. Yeah, person. You're missing." So I mean, it feels like he was calm, which makes the words even more piercing. And if you're angry, shouting, I mean, then you tend to like, "Oh, okay, he's pissed off, okay, I'm just gonna." But if very calm, ooh, those can be very piercing words. So, uh, to listen to. So I do believe, yeah, usually getting angry is not going to solve any problem. Uh, it's probably going to create more. However, we're trying to create peace for others. And yeah, we just have to think carefully what we're going to say too. But we have to say things that if they're out of line, but we have to be calm and respectful about it.
Thank you.
That's just a practice, a continuous practice forever. Thank you. Well, we could just keep sitting here for another 19 minutes, uh, but we don't have to. Okay, then. Thank you so much for coming to today's talk and appreciate you coming. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. At this point, we usually talk about what's coming up at Hokyoji. First of all, next week, Shoto Spring will be our speaker. We have some things coming up in July. Mark Anderson and his wife Melissa are going to lead a retreat called Naturally Awake. Mark's renowned for how he brings together Buddhist practice and his livelihood of teaching and performing percussion, so he includes that in his teachings as well. It's usually a kind of a new take for most of us on a meditation retreat. So I encourage you to think about trying that out if you're able and willing. The Jewel Mirror Sesshin, which is a sesshin we hold annually, is led by Dokai Georgesen of Wisconsin. I'm just going to call it the Milwaukee Zen Center, but that might not be the right name. And then Daigaku Rume, who's in St. Louis. So our three teachers come together for the teaching of the Jewel Mirror Sesshin. And I forgot to write down when that is, but I'm sure that it's soon after the July 17th and 20th. But you can just go to the Hokyoji homepage and you'll be able to find out when it is and also register. Let's see. Yeah, so that's what's coming up, and usually we remind people we have the June appeal going on. It's very important to keeping us alive and well, and we very much appreciate any form of generosity. We have matching funds that come to us, and it's been going a bit slowly, so think about maybe making a contribution or spreading the word about that. And having said that, I think we're ready to do our 4 vows. So, beings are numberless, I vow to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible, I vow to end them. Dharma gates are boundless, I vow to enter them. The Buddha way is unsurpassable, I vow to realize it. May your day go well.
Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.